Hi, it's Rich Tehrani here. We are at Interop Day 3 in the TMC newsroom, coming to you from Las Vegas. Today we're speaking with Clint Gatewood, who is with Zenith Infotech. How are you?
I'm doing well. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, too. Thanks for being on our show today in the newsroom. If you can, give us the overview of your company, please.
Hey, overview of our company. We're a 13-year-old company. We do everything from managed services for the channel. We do a lot of white-labeled services for the channel where we provide a complete remote service for them. So we do server monitoring, desktop maintenance. They roll into their services to help them scale much faster and be able to provide 24/7 services. We do backup disaster recovery products as well for small to medium businesses. Our typical install on the channel side is 10 to 100 user market. More predominantly 10 to 50 users is what it works out to be. Here at Interrupt today, we're here talking about Zenith Arca. It's the advanced recovery continuity appliance that we just released. We started shipping 3 months ago, which is based on the technology that we have in the field. We have over 12,000 sites on the other product where we store 3 petabytes of storage off-site. But this is more of a self-managed product. It's geared towards IT departments, self-managed. They want to self-manage the product. They have a lot of remote locations that they want to have a business continuity plan. And what we've seen in the field, they're talking to larger clients that have 3, 4 to 100, 200, even 500, 600 remote locations.
Right.
Is they really don't have that very well integrated into their overall business continuity plan.
So if some of these locations go down, and then what happens?
What happens is they install a device out on the site. It's our Arca appliance. It goes on the site. And the nice part about it is it includes everything for one price. So it includes the backup software. It includes replication software. It includes the VMware type product. It's not VMware, but it's a virtual software and hypervisor. And all the backup, everything's included in the one price. Typically at a location, someone will have 1 or 2 servers, a DNS server, file print server, that they need to cover. So you install a device out there, takes a complete backup, and if that server fails or goes down, the IT department can log in remotely, fail that server with the device in 5 to 10 minutes, well 10 to 15 minutes we'll say, and they're back up and running. And the organization's running, they don't have to go flying out there, it's not an emergency, it's not shut down.
So then they just ship out another server, or the local office buys a server to replace?
That's correct. But they can run in the meantime on our Arca appliance, so the organization isn't losing a beat. They're up and running.
Right.
And that's where your cost comes in. And they don't have to fly out there as an emergency. They can take a week to get the box in.
Right.
And the other part, too, is that if they have a box in this location and a box over here, so if I have a location in LA and one in New York, I can get a box for each site, then I can cross-replicate them.
Right.
So that way, if I lose my LA site or I lose my New Orleans site or some other site, I can actually bring them up and fill them over to New York and give them access to it, and my employees are working.
Sure. Now, what about bandwidth between the different locations? Is there some compression taking place, or to speed things up?
We do a lot of compression, but we're block level, and we have we're not a file level backup that gets into, you're doing a complete backup every time you do it, and that's where you run into your issues in taking data off site and a lot of bandwidth. We sit below the operating system, we're doing block level backups, just copying the ones and zeros. So we do a base image when you first install it. Then what the client would do then is offload that to a USB type drive, send that to, say, the New York office, offload on that Arca appliance. Then you're just every night, or you can set it up every 15 minutes every night, you're just taking the changes to that data and sending it across. So it's very light. It doesn't require a lot of bandwidth whatsoever.
That's great. So now in this economic environment, are there changes in customer behavior?
Sure. I mean, you see a lot of changes in customer behavior. People are really cut back on capital expenditures. They've cut back on projects. And not so much that I've seen that they really cut back on projects. They still have them slated to do.
Sure.
But they're waiting another 3 months or waiting another 6 months.
Right.
Just making sure what the economy is going to do.
Seems to be tougher to get things to be signed, right? The orders are there. They're just, right? Is that?
They're just hanging on to it a bit longer, waiting for that revenue to catch up a little bit. Just making sure, not that they don't necessarily have the capital to spend, they're hedging their bets a bit. So they're holding off, waiting for a few more receipts to come in, because we've seen, lengthening cycles on billing, where people are 10, 15, 30 days further out than what they typically have been.
So what's a reason for companies to speed up working with you in this economic environment? It seems like there's some benefits, but I think it's better for you to articulate them.
Yeah, the benefits along those lines is how do you do your business continuity and you cover those remote offices. If you lose a remote office and you got 10, 20 employees out there, you lose a lot of revenue, especially if it's a sales office that are doing a lot of outbound calls or they're working with your clients in that particular field. So how do you economically in this environment cover that? Our initial box for 1 or 2 servers is only $2,500, and that's a complete cost. You don't have to buy the backup software, you're not buying the hardware, you don't have to have the technical know-how to put it together. We are a solutions company. We're not a manufacturer, we're not an ISV, we're not trying to sell software, push licensing, we don't charge maintenance. on the whole thing. So for $2,500, you have your hardware warranty, you have your software upgrades included, you have 24/7 chat support with the whole solution. So there's no additional cost. There's nothing hidden in it. So for $2,500, you're completely covered.
Now, do you need to specify in terms of the memory that the box needs or anything like that? Or can people specify, oh, it needs this kind of processor, dual core, multi-core, any of that kind of stuff?
No, we manufacture our own boxes. That's one thing that we do. We manufacture the boxes and everything's spec'd on our equipment that we send out to the site. But it's
so
all
even if someone's got a super high performance server, so it might slow down the performance for a short amount of time, and then they can get a new server up and running. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. I mean, if you're running a server and you're running 80% of the RAM out of 16 gigs, then you'll have some slowdowns, you'll have some degradation, but you'll be up and working along those lines. The nice piece, though, is say you're up on this Arca device for 2 days, you get your new server in, then you can do bare metal restore from this device to that one to dissimilar hardware. So I don't have to worry about buying the same Dell server or HP. I can move wherever I want to a new piece of equipment depending on the price point that I want, install that, and then in 2.5 hours, you're back up and running.
That's great. That's really great. So what's been the reaction at the show so far?
Reaction's good. I mean, the reaction from the end clients that we're talking to is really good. We talked to a lot of channel as well. I've noticed a lot of channel at the show this year. But reaction to price points is very good. Again, it's a turnkey solution, so they're not going out buying a bunch of other stuff. It's easily manageable where you can install it. And typically when they see the price points, like, I can't believe it. I mean, this is exactly what I need, and it fits into my budget. So it's real good.
It sounds great. Is there anything that our viewers can expect next from your company that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so next coming up from our company is one with the Arca product itself, is we're coming out next month with vaults. So instead of just going from site to site, a client that might have 25 sites out there can get a vault that would sit on their own infrastructure. So it would sit on top of their own iSCSI or fiber channel SAN. They could replicate that all back to their data center and go right down to that SAN. Then if they lose a site, instead of replicating over to, say, a New York site and coming up, they can actually bring it up in their own facility. So we have those coming out. And then we have a product that we're yet to name it. We've been calling it Box Office, which is kind of the cloud computing. You hear about that coming out.
Sure.
But it's a device geared towards smaller mid-sized clients that they can install at their site. It'll virtualize all their PCs, their firewalls, routers, switches. The whole thing is a virtual environment where we include smart clients with it. So their PC, they have complete. The problem with like a Citrix environment and even with VDI and some of these other products that are coming out to virtualize PCs is all of the infrastructure is required on the back end. So you have a lot of iron and you have a lot of heavy techs that have to be able to run that and know it. Then you get degradation across the network that you're working with. You can't do a lot of high-speed video. You can't do a lot of those particular pieces. So what we've done is cut down on the back end hardware, and the smart clients that we ship have CPU, memory, RAM, right on them. They just don't have a hard drive. They just use a hard drive back here. So we stream the operating system to the user, and the user can sign anywhere in the environment and they got their PC. But we stream the user. They can use high-speed video. They can use all those pieces. But we've distributed the processing power across the environment, so on the back end. So you can take a look at a $250,000 investment that you'd make in a smaller environment to do all that, maybe $50,000, $60,000 over the course of 3 years.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Clint, thank you so much. This was great. Thanks for being in the newsroom today, and good luck.
Rich. Yeah. Great meeting you. Thank you.